So welcome back to DecoyNoise and another episode of Am I the Antagonist? And am I the antagonist for getting upset at my in-laws after they put a Disney-style family portrait, which includes the woman my husband cheated on me with, / the mother of his illegitimate son, in their living room? So in the crazy year that is 2020, I want to make sure you're taking at least 2 breaks a day by subscribing to DecoyNoise with the notifications on so I can remind you every day at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time to just kick back, relax, and watch me, the Decoy, judge some strangers online. So let's get to the post. OP writes, I'm still emotional about all of this and I just want some perspective. Background. 2 years into our marriage, my husband Kyle cheated on me with one of his colleagues, Madison. Kyle immediately admitted what happened and he said that it was a drunken one-time thing that they both regretted. We were having a rough patch in our relationship because at that time we were having stress of being unable to conceive. So I tried to understand him and gave our relationship another chance. I was gutted when he later told me that Madison was pregnant, but what's done was done and the only thing I could do was accept it. Now they have a son, Kit. Kyle's parents adore Kit and they have him once a week every Friday. I don't begrudge them for that, and I myself care about Kit like a stepson because none of any of this is his fault. Which brings us to the issue. For Mother's Day, my father-in-law had an artist draw a Disney-style family portrait of their family. My mother-in-law sent a picture of the portrait that they put in his living room of their house. My parents-in-law are in the middle, and to their left is Kyle's sister Carla. Beside Carla is her husband, and in front of them are their 2 kids. To their right is me. Beside me is Kyle, and beside Kyle is Madison. Kit is in front of Kyle. My heart sank when I saw Madison. I have nothing against Kit being in the picture, and I know that my in-laws are close to Madison too, but to have her in the portrait with Kyle between me and her, that just broke my heart. I called my mother-in-law and asked her if they could please keep that picture in the room or somewhere else in the house, not in the living room where I will see it every time I'm over because it reminds me that I will always share my husband with the woman he cheated on me with because she gave birth to the child that I couldn't have with him. My mother-in-law apologized for hurting my feelings but said that they didn't mean to upset me. They were just thinking of Kit and how they don't want him to feel that her mother isn't family to them. My mother-in-law said that they will put the portrait in her bedroom instead. I told her that frankly I don't know how they didn't think that it would upset me, but if they move the portrait elsewhere then I accept their apology and that's the end of the issue for me. Hours later, Carla called me saying that they were complaining about the portrait made my mother-in-law cry on Mother's Day, and now my father-in-law is also upset that his gift to her, which they were originally both happy about, is causing all this drama. Carla said that I was out of line for telling my in-laws what they can and cannot put in their living room, and that in reality, Madison is part of their family because she is Kit's mom. She said that I should learn to live with the fact that Madison will always be there as long as I'm married to Kyle because of Kit. I told her that I know Madison will always be there, but it's too much to ask them not to rub it in my face with a portrait showing my husband between me and Madison. Am I really the antagonist here? And then they followed up saying, I've read enough. It was a mistake to post this here. There are comments that made me realize many things, but most just jump into conclusions and talk like they know things better than I do, and everyone including me who don't agree with them is wrong. I've already had enough toxicity in my life. I don't need any more. Thanks. So as always, I'm going to take this case over to Decoy Court where I'm going to give you my knee-jerk reaction. We're going to go over some of those top comments, read some of those more fun, controversial comments. I'll read your comments down below, then we'll do that Decoy Deliberation where we figure out who the true antagonist is and make up some kind of fun, theoretical punishment for said antagonist. But let's go ahead and just get into this post right now, which is... So the husband did a terrible thing. You accepted the terrible thing, but you don't want them to rub your face in it? Like... OP is working the wrong side of the issue here. Like, the idea is she has a leaky faucet, but she wants to, like, sit there and try to take the water out of the sink whenever it fills up. It's like, no, you have to fix the leaky faucet. It's time to walk away from the marriage, unfortunately. Like, it's your son's extramarital son. You can't fight every instance where you see him. It's his son. Of course his parents are going to love the grandson and want to post him on things. They're going to have to feel guilty about the sins of their sons because what they did with the son means that the daughter-in-law just yet, like, you know, it's the mother to their grandson. It's always going to mean something to them, and you're not going to get away with that. Now, that being said, most of the Decoy Court here are perfectly okay with marriage. I mean, sorry, not marriage. Perfectly okay with divorce. They're perfectly okay with people walking away from a marriage that's not working. So we need to acknowledge that OP may live in a society where marriage is just never permissible. It's not an option. So in that case, I feel really bad for the original poster. Like, life is hard. It's only going to get harder. But they need to accept the fact that it's going to happen over and over in many forms. Every single time the kid has a birthday party, when the graduation happens, that'll be a huge reminder. Their wedding day, it's going to be a reminder. You can't expect everybody to walk around eggshells around your tragedy the rest of their life. So in the event that divorce is not an option in their society, I'm going to go ahead and say no antagonist here. I understand why the sister Carla is going to be upset about the situation, saying that, like, hey, you're ruining Mother's Day with your emotions, but OP's entitled to have their emotions. Now, we're only talking about this in this instance that they can't get a divorce, but, you know, OP is just trying to put on a brave face even though the husband screwed him over. I guess the only antagonist would be is the husband, but Carla's not an antagonist for standing up for the mother-in-law and father-in-law. They're not the antagonist because they're just trying to enjoy their family. Kit's not the antagonist. OP's not the antagonist. The only person that sucks is the husband that cheated on them. Even Madison's not the antagonist unless they knew that this was going to happen. So hopefully she can get a divorce, move on. Hopefully the commenters here don't go crazy making her feel like a horrible person because she's just a victim of a horrible situation. And hopefully you've just subscribed to DecoyNoise and you in the comment section below, because you can also earn yourself that Decoy coin by giving me good information, give me feedback on how to make the channel better, or how I'm dumb and I'm an idiot because my opinion on this situation is wrong. But as long as it's productive, I'll typically read it and want to reply to it as the channel grows. But let's go ahead and take that short break. Let me know what you think, but then we're going to go to those top comments right now. The top comment is, I just want to point out that the husband has managed to have his cake and eat it too. Zero consequences to him, ultimately. And then thank you for the award, which is kind of the sad thing, is like he really gets to have himself a harem of women. He gets to have his loyal wife that's taking care of the home, and he also has to have his mistress on the side, and his family he's somehow managed to get his family to approve of both. Like, they're this giant thing. Like, I don't even know how you explain that picture to somebody else. Like, and you have that, like, you know, you have Carla and her husband, the two kids, oh, mom and dad, and I'm over at, like, you know, visiting his parents. I'm like, okay, so wait, so that's your son, OP's son, okay, now that's OP, and then who's that? Madison, okay, that's Kit, so that's Kit's Madison's son, and then we also have, like, it's this whole thing, and it's like, wait, what new generation 2023 marriage do we have where it's just like this whole, I have never watched Handmaid's Tale, but I feel like that would be the situation here. But tell me in the comment section if I need to watch that show, because everybody tries to tell me that I need to watch that show. But let's go ahead and go to the next reply right now, which is, yeah, he needs to be the one bringing this up with his mom and dad. It's a mess. And also, yeah, there's all these praising in the thread about what type of blended family is fair and sustainable. Should Kit's feelings be accepted and prioritizes over OP's feeling and secure in her marriage? Should Madison be considered part of the family? And the important questions that can only be hammered out if OP's husband is willing to put work into figuring out the answer. Creating a sustainable family dynamic is out of the mess that he made is a huge undertaking, and OP cannot and should not be trying to hammer it out without his help. If he isn't putting work together into figuring out how he can help OP live with this, she's essentially the only one trying to salvage the marriage. True. To be clear, in threads like this, it's always on the side of protect the child who can't leave and who has no independent resources over the betrayed adult who and can and does. But it's not to say that making this type of family work is impossible, or that OP should be trapped in a marriage that her husband won't do the sufficient work to fix, which is true. The idea that it just does look like OP's the only one trying to make it work, but I mean, it's not. It's just a messy situation that has no clear cut solution to. So it's like, you know, no one's really gonna have a bad no one's able to really make this work well. But let's go ahead and read the next top reply, which is, no antagonist here. You should consider leaving your husband. You're never going to be free from the reminder of his infidelities. Either accept it, all of it, or get a divorce. You can't expect the rest of the family to walk on eggshells because your husband betrayed everything marriage is supposed to stand for. Which is true, which is the only reason I could think that this is still a situation, is just divorce is not an option in whatever culture or situation that OP's in. Maybe they're like, you know, maybe it's not a cultural or religious thing. Maybe it's a situation where the husband has an ironclad prenup, and if the girl decides to divorce him, she'll be left out in the woods with, like, not even, you know, a shirt on her back. So maybe this is just a situation where she's just trying to, like, you know, put on a brave face and power through it. Who knows? It's hard to say. But let's go ahead and read the next top reply, which is, I agree with this person. You should consider leaving your husband. You are not over the cheating, nor can you easily accept that Madison has to be involved with your husband. OP, you deserve to be loved and have a happy family who loves you equally and is equally loyal to you. And the one thing I could say with this is, maybe OP just sees this situation as like being a stepmother, where, okay, so let's say that the conception of Kit didn't happen when they were together. It happened before they were together. So maybe I should just be a good stepmother. There's plenty of good stepmothers out there, and they all accept the kids. So maybe I should do the same thing. And in that aspect, maybe they just think this is right, where it's like, okay, cool, I'm just the stepmom. But no, it represents something entirely different. Like, you know, having a child with somebody before you're around doesn't mean that you've been insulted at all. It just means that you guys met later in life. This is a very different situation. You are not the stepmom. You are the reverse mistress. I feel like there's not even an English word for that right now, but because it's so non-commonplace. But let's go ahead and read the next top reply, which is, it's amazing how the husband got out of this scot-free. And the reply was, yeah, but he was drunk, and apparently that's a golden ticket to cheat. And the thing is always, you know, that's where OP's kind of writing the portion where they're saying like, oh, a lot of other people seem to think that they know the situation better than I do, when they're just kind of saying like, you know, maybe she didn't forgive him because he got drunk or whatever. Maybe they forgave him because they were indeed, you know, broken up, or I don't know. Like, there's a lot of things that we just can't fathom happening, and that being the truth. So we can't really judge them based on like, hey, you accepted him for just cheating, so it's time to just kind of accept it. Like, no, that's not a good freaking telemarketer calls. That's not a freaking that's not a good excuse for for us to judge them based on something we don't know about. But let's go ahead and read the next controversial reply, because maybe that'll give us perspective. So they're saying, you're the antagonist. I get your feelings, truly, but this kind of thing is going to come with the territory when you choose to stay with someone who cheated on you and had a child with someone else. Like, oh my gosh, telemarketer calls. Okay, so like it or not, the kid and Madison are part of the family now. I know it sucks, but you decided to stay in the relationship. I'm not faulting you for sticking with it at all, but the issues aren't just going to disappear. Now, they're saying that she's the antagonist right now because the whole situation with, you know, they're not just going to disappear, all these problems and everything, but I can't really, like, you know, go after this person not knowing the full story as to, and another, sorry, I can't really go on another, like, going too hard on OP not knowing the circumstances of why they stayed or why they didn't stay. But let's go ahead and read another top reply right now. You're the antagonist because you think in your in-laws and this picture are the real problem, which is true. Oh my god, these calls, I need to put my phone somewhere else because it's throwing me off right now. So the idea is, like, you know, you're the antagonist because you think your in-laws and the picture are the real problem. That is the situation where, yes, she thinks that, like, you know, the in-laws are the problem. I don't think that she ever thought the in-laws are the problem. She just said, hey, can we handle this situation, like, justifiably, and kind of like, you know, can you maybe spare my feelings? Why am I getting so many calls? Can you maybe spare my feelings with this situation? Like, that's not the way to go about it, you know? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just put this on silent now. I feel like the reason they got, you know, controversial replies is just the idea that they're trying to make them the antagonist when they just really aren't the antagonist. They're just somebody going through a hard time. But let's go ahead and read the next reply right now. So the next reply was, you're the antagonist. This picture is for your mother-in-law. To her, Madison is family because she is Kit's mom. Don't determine who has a place as a family to someone else. Which is true. Like, you know, yes, she expects everybody to walk around eggshells for her because she's having a hard time with the situation. Like, I get why she would say that, like, you can, if you just take the picture and move it somewhere else, I'll forgive you. I can see why that's a situation where she's not, like, going hard on mother-in-law and father-in-law. She's just trying to express her concerns and her, like, you know, what's going on. Like, I don't have anything against you, it's just hurting me, so... Did it make the mother-in-law cry? Did it make the father-in-law feel bad about what they did? Yes, but it wasn't like the intent. It wasn't the intent for her to go back and yell at him for the situation. So let's go ahead and read the next top controversial reply, which is, not the antagonist, but this is why you shouldn't be with the cheater. You think he changed? What's to say next time you two have an argument, he won't have a one-night stand who ends up pregnant somehow? And they had -9 votes, which is, you know, this is pretty much an accurate... I don't want to say accurate, but this is a legitimate concern where it's just like, okay, hey, he's a cheater. He might cheat on you again. Cool, that might be the situation. So that makes sense. But just the idea that it's a bit of a stretch. It's a bit of a stretch to say that, like, okay, yeah, he's just going to start having kids with a whole bunch of different people in this whole situation and whatnot. Like, you can't convict somebody for something we just don't know about. But let's go ahead and read another top reply right now, which is... No antagonist here. I totally understand why this is heartbreaking for you, but this is clearly something that was done for your kid's benefit. Your in-laws are trying to include Kit's bio mom as part of the family. They weren't trying to rub it in your face. And that's true. Like, okay, so they got a lot of upvotes, but it wasn't like they were calling him out. This is controversial because it kind of went up and down. But just the idea, it's like, yeah, this wasn't an attack on you having Kit's mom in it. Like, they just thought that they did it for Kit's behalf, where they say, like, okay, cool, look, your family situation, it's not commonplace, but... You have your father's wife there in the picture. That's your mom. That's your stepmom. And also you have your biological mom, who we're also fond of, and they're part of the situation. So it does make sense for them to kind of all circle around them and say, hey, look, this is just life, we should accept it. Maybe they thought that because OP forgave their son, that this was going to be okay because they've just accepted the situation. Like, they had no way of knowing that this was going to be super insulting to OP and that whole situation was an issue. But let's go ahead and read on right now. Next top controversial reply is, you're the antagonist for staying with the cheater. I don't know how that translates into her being the antagonist. And then the other one is, you're the antagonist for being with some dude who fathered a child with another woman. Like, why? That's why OP was probably getting so offended by the comment section and thinking that this was a mistake. Just the idea that it's like, everybody's attacking her for staying with somebody, for trying to make a relationship work. You don't know her background. You don't know her financial situation. You just don't know. There's so many, like, you know, mysteries with this situation that just, like, for you to sit there and say you're an antagonist, you're the a-hole for wanting to be in this situation is just totally, I don't want to say inappropriate, but it's just like misguided. And then someone else replied saying, yeah, she's the antagonist for forgiving someone she loved for making a mistake. Explain this logic, please. And a lot of replies over there, but I mean, it's probably going to go back and forth. And the idea that should she forgive her husband or not, that's up to her. But the idea is she needs to either get over it or move on. Hopefully she can move on from the situation, because if not, she's just going to be doomed to a life of just constant reminders of, you know, inadequacy, you know, splitting her husband, all that situation. So like I always say, drop yourself a good comment and earn yourself that Decoy coin, because I'd be very curious to know if there's any other aspects. You know, these replies got kind of aggressive with OP, so maybe there's another perspective that I'm not seeing myself that could make this kind of all reasonable. But if nothing else, I appreciate you hanging out for as long as you did. I want to say subscribe down below if you haven't already with the notifications on, because from what I'm hearing is people just aren't seeing my videos in the feed. Go head over to DecoyNoise.com to give me your feedback as to how to make the channel better, or submit your own story, and hopefully we can do a Decoy only post where it's just me going over stories you guys submit. But if nothing else, put this on autoplay and watch the next Decoy Noise coming up next.